So I started rehab the day after surgery.
For a labrum tear, really?
Started right away. So just been hitting it every day with a couple off days. Every 10 days about. Every day looks the same. Progressing a little bit right now.
All right, so if you're an NBA front office right now, you're probably sleeping with one eye open and your phone on loud because this week's injury report isn't just bad luck. It's the kind of stuff that changes seasons, changes trade deadlines, and changes careers. We're talking about star players going down, rotation guys disappearing, and teams quietly realizing, yeah, we might have to do something. These aren't fantasy injuries. These are real current situations that are already shifting how teams think about buying, selling, or straight up panicking. So let's break down the 5 NBA injuries you absolutely need to know about right now and what they actually mean for the league. And we're starting with the biggest name on the list. Giannis Antetokounmpo is dealing with a soleus strain, and internally, the expectation is that he'll be out for roughly 4 to 6 weeks. And if that made Bucks fans sit up a little straighter, good, because soleus injuries are not the kind you rush. This isn't just miss a couple games and shake it off. This is the type of injury where teams get cautious fast, especially when it involves their franchise player. Milwaukee without Giannis is a completely different team. Offensively, everything changes. Defensively, everything changes. Emotionally, yeah, everything changes. Giannis doesn't just score, he covers mistakes, he erases bad possessions, he lets everyone else play with confidence because they know he's behind them. And take that away, and suddenly the margin for error disappears. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's already chatter around the league that if the Bucks struggle during this stretch, even just a little, it could push the front office toward exploring upgrades before the deadline. Not because the roster is bad, not because Giannis is unhappy, but because windows don't wait. This is the kind of injury that turns, we'll see how it goes, into maybe we should make a call. And once those calls start, things escalate fast. This isn't about making a splash. It's about avoiding regret. Now let's talk about the Clippers, because this one is messy. Ivica Zubac suffered a grade 2 left ankle sprain and is expected to miss at least 10 games with a reevaluation coming in about 3 weeks. And that might not sound dramatic at first, but context matters. The Clippers were already underperforming. They were already fighting uphill. And now they've lost the one guy quietly holding their interior together. Zubac isn't flashy. He's not trending on social media. But when he's off the floor, the Clippers feel it immediately. And that's why the conversation around this team has shifted from, can they figure it out, to, is this the moment they pivot? There's real commentary happening now about whether this injury effectively pushes the Clippers towards selling, not retooling, not tweaking, selling. Once that idea enters the room, everything changes. Kawhi's name starts popping up. James Harden's name starts popping up. Again, and suddenly the Clippers stop looking like buyers and start looking like the team everyone calls first. Harden, in particular, has already resurfaced in trade chatter as a potential target for contenders if the Clippers go that route. This injury didn't just hurt their rotation, it cracked open a door that might not close. Next up, Sacramento. Domantas Sabonis is out with a knee issue, and the expectation is that he'll miss roughly 4 to 5 weeks. And for the Kings, this one hurts in a very specific way. Sabonis isn't just their center, he's their hub. He touches everything, he connects everything, he keeps their offense flowing and their rebounding stable. Without him, Sacramento isn't just missing production, they're missing structure. And now the Kings are facing a real question. Do they chase short-term help, or do they ride this out? Because 4 to 5 weeks is long enough to expose depth issues, but short enough that overreacting could cost you later. There's already talk that this could push Sacramento toward looking for front court help. Maybe not a star, but someone who can stabilize things while Sabonis is out. The danger here is urgency. Injuries like this tempt teams into overpaying for temporary fixes. So the real test for the Kings isn't just surviving without Sabonis, it's deciding whether to act now or trust the long view. And those are the decisions that separate good teams from desperate ones. Now let's head to Utah, Where the front court situation has gone from thin to complicated fast, Lauri Markkanen is dealing with a groin injury and has already been ruled out for at least one upcoming game. On its own, that's manageable. But Walker Kessler is out for the season after undergoing shoulder surgery to repair a torn labrum. That changes everything. Kessler's absence removes a key rim protector. Markkanen's injury impacts spacing and scoring, and suddenly, Utah's identity gets fuzzy. The Jazz are now staring at a fork in the road. Do they look for short-term help to stay competitive, or do they lean further into development and start reassessing veterans? There's already speculation that these injuries could push Utah toward exploring trade scenarios they might not have considered otherwise. Not because they're forced to sell, but because injuries clarify direction. When your front court disappears, you either patch it or pivot, and Utah might be closer to that decision point than people realize. Now let's talk about the injuries that don't dominate headlines, but quietly shape the trade market every year. Chris Middleton is day-to-day with a knee issue. RJ Barrett is dealing with a knee injury and will be out at least another week after a PRP injection. Georges Niang is sidelined with a foot injury and will be reevaluated later in December. Add in other rotation players across the league missing multiple games, and suddenly, contenders start feeling thin. These aren't injuries that trigger blockbuster trades. They trigger phone calls. This is how front offices end up saying, "We just need one more reliable guy." Bench scoring, wing defense, someone who can play without blowing assignments. Most deadline deals aren't about stars. They're about solving problems created by injuries exactly like these. And when multiple contenders feel that pressure at the same time, the market tightens fast, prices go up, availability goes down, and teams that act early usually win. So when you zoom out, here's the big picture. Giannis being out puts pressure on Milwaukee. Zubac's injury cracks the Clippers' foundation. Sabonis forces Sacramento to make a patience check. Utah's front court injuries blur their direction. And a wave of smaller injuries quietly fuels role player demand league-wide. None of this guarantees trades, but it guarantees conversations. And in the NBA, conversations are how everything starts. So now I want to hear from you. Which injury do you think ends up changing the trade deadline the most? And what's one move you think happens because of it? Drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to Droppin' Dimes, and we'll be back next week breaking down the injuries and rumors that actually matter. Because in this league, it's never just basketball, it's timing.